Good evening, everyone. A cursed stream is upon us because, as you know, tonight I am reading Kerbal Space Program Fan Fiction. Now that's right. Believe it or not, I'm gonna do it. It's going to happen. And, you know what? It's gonna be awesome. So, deal with it. Hi, Emmykins. For those of you who are wondering who found all this fan fiction, it was none other than our very own Emmykins. She is the one who was responsible for this. This was her idea. And so if you have any issues with the fan fiction, please direct your ire at her, not to me. I am merely here to relay the content of these, what I'm sure are wonderful stories that are in no way cursed. You guys ready? You guys ready? Should I wait a little bit? Maybe we should let the suspense build for a few minutes. I have not read these. Emmykin skimmed them for me to make sure they were okay to read on stream. If we get to anything a little too spicy, if you know what I mean, we're gonna skip over that part. If we get to anything that is just like too weird, if there's even such a thing, I'm sure there is, then we're also gonna go ahead and skip that part. We've got 4 lined up for the night. If we manage to get through all those and I'm still breathing, then I don't know, maybe we'll do something else, but we'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. Let's we'll head over to the live screen so you guys can see what you're in for tonight. I've got a cursed Kerbal down there making expressions. That's our in lieu of a camera this evening, because I don't want the light on my face while I'm trying to read this. I'm right up close to the screen like a boomer. So let us ensure that everything is good to go. Make sure it looks good on my end. Close all the things that could potentially make noise during the stream that I don't want. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Is that Jeb? They all look the same, so maybe. All male Kerbal astronauts look the same, and all female Kerbal astronauts look the same. So it could be Jeb, it could be Bill, it could be Bob. There's no way to tell. All right. You are reading, or I guess I will be reading, Proximity, a Kerbal Space Program story. The book you are about to read is based on the game Kerbal Space Program. It is about a Mars mission, which can be really shitty or really wonderful for you. Okay, well, I guess we'll be the judge of that. This chapter has 28 views and 3 favorites and no comments, which is probably for the best. Close that out. Yeah, I guess I can't close it. Whatever. Proximity. Proximity is a space shuttle which will go to Mars. It is the most unique space plane because of its fuel system and its engine. The engine uses ion propulsion system, electric engines in non-scientific language, and it uses a lithium-ion battery as its fuel tank. It has 3 parts: the reusable boosters, the reusable booster tank, and the space plane itself. The best thing about this ship is that it's 100% reusable. The design of the plane was made by the infamous Elon Musk. Oh boy, well, we're off to a roaring start. About the crew. Let's tell you things about the crew. Bob Kerman. Bob Kerman is one of the most brave Kerbal astronaut out there. Bob is the commander of the Proximity shuttle. Jebediah Kerman. Jebediah, Jeb for short, is the best Kerbanaut and the most professional pilot of all time. We chose Jeb as the pilot of Proximity because he's done 100 orbits, rounds of Kerbin, Earth, and not even a single one was a failure. And he has also gone on the moon. Valentina Kerman. Valentina Kerman is the co-pilot of the Proximity spaceplane. She has orbited on Kerbin 56 times and is the best friends with Jeb. She's the best friends, guys. About Elon Musk. All right. Elon Musk is the foundee and chief designer of SpaceX and has helped the Kerbals for the Mars mission of Proximity by funding us $1 billion US, I assume, dollars, and giving the blueprints of Proximity. Oh boy, this is great. Emmykins, yeah. Everybody please send all your likes to Emmykins. Launch of Proximity. The launch was 100% successful. The boosters ignited and the ship till 89% orbit. Oh, and took the ship till 89% orbit. Separation of the ship and booster part. After going 89% orbit, the boosters were empty and useless, for now, and was sent back to Earth for refurbishment with the help of parachutes, and then the main electronic engines were used. After the boosters were separated, Jebediah handed the controls of the ship to Valentina Kerman after it was successfully orbiting the Earth at 28,000 kilometers per hour, or 7.777 kilometers per second. This famous picture was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope during the 18th orbit. Mars came really close to Earth, 54.6 million kilometers, and the average is 80.362 million kilometers. So Valentina Kerman gave the ship to Jebediah Kerman, and Jeb started descending to the red planet. This is not Mars, chat. This is the Mun. No, you know what? I'm not gonna critique the stories just yet. After Jeb successfully started orbiting Mars, a robotic voice said, "Mars orbit successful." Oh, hang on. Mars orbit successful. Jebediah and the other crew was really confused as they have learnt that Mars is red and this planet was white, so they immediately called Elon Musk. Jebediah Kerman. "Hello, Mr. Musk, can you hear me?" Elon Musk. How does he sound? I'll just use my normal voice. "Yes, I can hear you. What happened?" Jebediah. Sir, I think we're on the wrong planet." Elon Musk. "Pardon?" Jebediah. "Sir, I think we are on the wrong planet." "What? How? Why? Who? What? When? Where?" "Sir, this is not red like Mars." Oh God, you scared me. There was a fault in the cameras of one of the rovers. That's why Mars was called red." "Oh, okay." And then they started to land on the so-called red planet. Here's a picture of Proximity landing on Mars. As they were landing on Mars, there was a warning on one of the systems. Warning error 1202. Where's Urban Venture when you need him? We get the 1202. Error 1202, very high radiation going back to orbit using going back to orbit using autopilot. All three were shocked, so they called for help. "Mr. Musk, we've got a problem. Tell me what happened. I'm all ears." "There is a warning of very high radiation, so the ship used autopilot to go back into orbit." "Oh, then I think you should restart the whole ship and then go back to landing." What should I do for Jebediah's voice? I feel like I need to differentiate them. "Okay, sir." Does that sound like a Kerbal? They shut down the whole ship. After the ship was finally shutted down, they started to turn it on, but nothing happened. They lost communication to the Space Center and Elon Musk. They again start to turn it on, but it failed. After 10 minutes, everyone at the Space Center thought they crashed into the surface of Mars. They tried to again restart the ship, but nothing happened. Everyone lost hope, but the brave three Kerbals didn't. They opened out the troubleshooting book. Turns out there was an emergency on button, but it was at the cargo bay, where there was no oxygen. But brave Bob was there to do the mission. He got into his suit until his last breath and saved the Kerbals. Everyone started getting signals of the ship. Everyone at the Space Center started vibing. Employee at the Space Center. "Yay, we got the signal. Let's do some research." Then came a voice at the Space Center from Mars. Jebediah says, "Mr. Musk, we did it." Everyone was happy. Picture of Valentina Kerman with the flag. Now the only challenge left was to come back home. But first, started charging the battery in case the battery got drained or discharged during mid-flight. Oh god, there's more. To come back home, all the three were tired, so Jebediah... I thought Bob died. So Jebediah turned on autopilot for Earth. They successfully landed. This is the last pick they took after coming back home. Home, sweet home. Whew, that was a good warm-up chat. I'm gonna be honest. That, I think, sets the tone for what we can see, what we can plan on seeing later this evening. And it only took about 10 minutes, which is kind of nice. Are there any... I don't think there are any comments on any of these chapters. Can we go back? Hold on, I guess I can hit back. Start from the beginning. There's one comment. All right, let's read the comment. HTML_6 said on February 16th, I'm a mega KSP fan and I would like it more with less spelling and punctuation mistakes. Anyway, the plot is okay. I mean, aside from the fact that they went to the Mun instead of Mars or Duna or whatever, and for some reason they were calling Elon Musk to get technical support with the ship instead of mission control. I don't know. Looks like it might be a couple of plot holes in here. Maybe it's a little contrived, a little bit basic. But a good warm-up, a good appetizer. We can take a few minutes here between this and the next story to discuss some of the happenings and the goings-on. I'm sure everybody heard the very sad news that I want to say good friend, but that's probably not right. Anyway, a legendary comedian, Gilbert Gottfried, passed away today. We're all very sad. He was, of course, the voice of Iago, and other things. And I actually, funny enough, I was showing Emmykins a video with him this morning that I would show on stream, but it might be a little later due to the content. So other than that, that's the news of the day. Anything else? Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share before we go to... I jinxed him. Yeah, it's my fault. I killed him, guys. Sorry. The very, one way to go about it, I suppose. Alright, so I'm actually going to rearrange these because, I'm going to save the longest one for... Oh my gosh. Okay, this has 13 chapters. This has... Oh boy. Sure, cookies, whatever. I'm in incognito mode. Wowzers. Okay, that's the whole thing. Okay, we can get through this. All right, you guys ready? We're gonna get started on the next one. We're saving the longer ones for later. This story is called Safety is Our #1 Priority by Roy Saber. The plot synopsis: Jebediah, Bill, and Bob get completely hammered the night before the first manned orbital flight and get the brilliant idea to hijack the launch vehicle and go up early. Rocket science is tricky work, drunk. I guess we can also read the first chapter of this person's book for free. Just click the link on their profile. Check it out, yo. So if you enjoy this story, go check out Roy Saber. Let's do this. Bob, Bill, and Jebediah were all completely shit-faced. It was against protocol, of course, but as long as they showed up relatively coherent the next morning, the three were sure they could get away with it. The crowds at the bar had slowly drifted out, leaving the three Kerbal-Knots alone with all but the most hardened drunks and a bartender that was watching the clock so he could kick them all out right on the dot at 0200 hours. Bill carefully aimed his dart. He was seeing double, so he had 2 targets to choose from. I can't believe we're finally doing it, Bob slurred. After all the testing, all the training, all the explosions, we are finally going to space tomorrow. Yeah, man. Jebediah suddenly threw his arms around the other Kerbal. and shouted at the top of his lungs, "I love you, man." "I love you too." Bill threw his dart, and against all conceivable odds, hit both of the boards right in the bullseye. Okay, Bob. "Do you think they'll know we're hungover tomorrow?" Bob asked. Jebediah shook his head vigorously. "We won't get a hangover. We're drinking vodka, and since vodka is made with science, it's impossible for it to make us hungover." Bob looked dubious. "I've been hungover from vodka before." "Couldn't be," Jebediah insisted. "It must have been, fake vodka." Bill went over to the boards to remove his darts and almost fell over. He steadied himself on the weight of the metal shaft alone. First Kerbal orbital flight," he said, and then hiccuped. It was true. Kerbals were a one-gendered race that reproduced by creating cloned polyps. How old is this? Oh, this is from 2013. This is old. This is before Valentina. Since there were no genders, there were no penises. And without penis, there was nothing to motivate the species into war and self-destructive arms races. Okay, sure. The Kerbals was able to put a vast amount of resources toward its space project since it didn't have to waste them on violence and threats of nuclear war. Still, progress was slow. The first unmanned orbital shot blew up on the pad. The second one blew up on the pad. The third one blew up on the pad. The fourth one blew up on the pad. The fifth one managed to get a couple hundred feet into the air before it spun out of control, flung a booster, then blew up right before impacting with the ground. After years of failure, the Kerbal's first satellite, Kerbuntenik, finally achieved orbit. Engineers were certain that a modified launch vehicle based on its design could carry 3 Kerbals safely into orbit, and maybe even back. "Do you think there's other intelligent life out there?" Bob asked dreamily. I see, I gotta learn how to not keep the voice when I switch back. "Of course," Bill insisted. "The universe is way too big for there not to be those things, species." Jebediah said, "Fuck that shit. Is there even intelligent life here? You all remember what happened to..." Okay, Bill, don't say it," Bill interrupted. "The first crew," Jebediah finished. A somber mood overtook the 3. The primary flight crew had been missing for 487 days and counting. It was widely believed that they must be dead. Even if they slowed their metabolism to hibernation mode, there was no way a Kerbal could live that long without food and water. But conspiracy theories remained. Perhaps they'd been locked up in the food storage warehouse, where 10 years of freeze-dried ick sat and waited to be used to supply space missions. Perhaps they'd been sucked into a dimensional vortex opened by the theoretical physics boys down in the lab. Maybe the 3 had just gotten scared and fled. Whatever had happened to the 3, it was widely known to be bad luck to bring up the unfortunate disappearance. "Damn it," Bill said furiously. "You know it's bad luck to bring up the unfortunate disappearance." "Let's just focus on the mission," Bob cut in. "Okay, Polyps, it's time for me to close up and y'all to go the fuck home," the bartender announced to the disappointed groans of the drunks at the bar. Bob, Bill, and Jebediah stumbled out of the bar into the picturesque town of Rocketport. The town had been built from the ground up to serve the needs of the Kerbal Space Center, and in the 10 years of its existence, it had attracted both the finest minds and the most desperate criminals, who were often the same people. The town was located right on the ocean, 20 miles north of the Space Center. Everything was new and freshly painted, and little flags waved in the breeze, illuminated by the white LED streetlights. Bob leaned onto one of the lamp poles. Poles. They spelled it like pole, guys. First spelling mistake of the story that I've noticed. Doubled over and vomited on his own shoes. Suddenly, Jebediah got an evil gleam in his eyes. "Let's go to the Space Center and take the Celestial One up right now," he suggested. Bob was drunk enough to think this was a good idea. What is Bob? "Hell yeah," he cried. "Let's do it." "Are you guys crazy?" Bill demanded. "As flight commander, I order you that we're going," Jebediah said right before adding his vomit to the puddle beneath Bob's feet. "We're drunk," Bill groaned. I can't ever keep Bill and Bob straight, so if I mix up the voices, just pretend I didn't. That's exactly why now's the perfect time to go. Our bodies will be slacker, better able to handle the G's, Bob offered. The man is right, Jebediah said, slapping him on the shoulders. Let's go to KSC right now. So, the three piled into Jebediah's car. As always, he insisted on driving, though he could barely see straight. Fortunately, there was very little traffic at that early hour, and Rocketport had a rudimentary at best police force. Jebediah thundered down the road at speeds well in excess of the speed limit, sometimes reaching speeds of up to 40 meters per second relative to Kerbin. Haha, science joke. Bill moaned and hung onto the handrail on the ceiling of the vehicle for dear life. Bob punctuated his shouts of joy with vomit. He occasionally leaned out of the car's open window and puked down the side of the vehicle. The road had long, gentle curves, and Jebediah was able to navigate it more or less safely, even though he was incredibly drunk. The guard at the gate waved them through without taking a second look, and then they were on the KSC campus. It's beautiful, Bob murmured, looking up at the giant rocket. It was. Floodlights illuminated the great craft, pointed at the sky like a long gray dart. It was held to the launch tower with a series of explosive bolts. Jebediah carelessly maneuvered the car around until it was right at the base of the tower, and the three Kerbonauts piled out and stared up at the pinnacle of Kerbal engineering. We can still change our minds, Bill suggested nervously. We're going up now. That's an order, Jebediah insisted. So, the three suited up at the base of the tower. There was no one around, and they had a great deal of trouble fumbling with the many catches and latches of the spacesuits. They were still completely hammered, and Bob blew chunks, once again, all down the front of his spacesuit. Bill and Jebediah refused to change him, and so the three ascended the elevator covered in glory as well as Upchuck. That's strange, Thaddeus said in mission control. It looks like somebody opened the Celestia's hatch. Hey, Percival, is somebody up on the launch tower? There was only a skeleton crew of three Kerbals keeping idle watch on the boards at mission control, and Percival sauntered over to take a look at Thaddeus's board. That is strange, Percival allowed. It's probably just a computer malfunction. Somebody get the flight chief out of bed. I'd hate to have the mission delayed because of the computers. Hey boss, Cornelius called out. Percival gave him the stink eye. What? It looks like somebody started the pre-flight routines, Cornelius said with an inflection of rising panic. That's impossible, Percival hissed. Hiss. There's nobody up there, is there? Thaddeus objected. How could there be? It's gotta be the computers. Damn it, I'm calling Mac Daddy. Somebody needs to fix these boards ASAP, Percival said. Percival didn't relish the prospect of getting the big boss, the Mac Daddy, the rocket rocker Charlesworth out of bed, but the night shift commander didn't think he had much of a choice. If the mission was going to launch the next day at noon, they needed all the heft they could get on the scene. What is it, Percival? Charlesworth growled after the sixth ring. Is there another cat loose on the campus? Percival stammered. No, sir, but there's something strange happening on the boards. It's impossible, but it almost looks like somebody's trying to steal the Celestia. My God, Kerbal, are you drunk? Charlesworth demanded furiously. No, sir, it's probably just a computer malfunction, but someone needs to get down here and check the wiring. Meanwhile, aboard the Celestia 1, Bill, Bob, and Jebediah were going through the pre-flight checks. Light after light lit up green to the immense satisfaction of the flight commander. Bob secured the hatch while Bill strapped himself so tightly into his seat that he could barely breathe. Hot, manly tears of bravery were rolling down Bill's cheek. We can still stop you guys, Bill said insistently. They probably won't even execute us. Too late to turn back now, Jebediah said, swallowing a dry heave. O2 is nominal. Gyros are gyroscopic. Stabilizers are stable, Bob announced. I don't know who says this, but someone says arm the bolts. Putting the staging controls in the launch vehicle itself was probably a bad idea in retrospect. Bolts armed, Bob said, while Bill openly sobbed. Press fuel tanks open. Fuel tanks open. How's the LOX mixture looking? Jebediah asked. Looks good, boss. Back in mission control, the 3 Kerbals manning the skeleton crew were in open panic. "That's not the board, sir," Thaddeus cried. "That rocket is definitely mixing its fuel." Percival stared incredulously out of the window. The engines for the great precision-engineered machines were starting to smoke. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, and his brain blindly searched years and years of training and protocol for how to handle someone hijacking the rocket. They'd run 1,000 simulations, but that was one possibility they'd never even remotely considered. "Fuck," Percival boldly announced. "What do we do?" Cornelius asked nervously. Finally, Percival came to a useful conclusion. "I'll be damned if we lose this launch on my watch," Percival shouted. "Cornelius, Thaddeus, get to the boards. I don't know who's on Celestia, but we're taking them up, come hell or high water." Inside the cockpit, the high water mostly consisted of vomit. The cabin smelled like vomit, booze, and Kerbal sweat. "Celestia, this is Mission Control. Please acknowledge, over." Bob, feeling mischievous, opened the channel. "Roger, this is Celestia, over." "Who the fuck do you think you are?" Percival demanded angrily. "We're the Caped Crusaders of Space, over," Bob replied. "Damn it, get out of that rocket right now." "Hydraulic external power to on." Or, hydraulic external power to on? What does that mean? Whatever. Jebediah ordered. "On, sir." "You're going to ruin millions of Kerbals worth of equipment," Percival groaned, "not to mention getting yourselves all killed. Over." "Fuck that, Rocketport. We're heading to space," Bob said. "How do the boards look on your end, Rocketport? Over." "Like there's a bunch of idiots trying to steal a spacecraft. Over." I don't think you have to put over. Whatever. "We're good to go, sir," Bob said. Percival vowed, "If you somehow survive this, you're going to jail forever." T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, Jebediah counted down. Too enthusiastic to wait for 0. Yeah, that's me. And wanting to keep Mission Control on its toes, Jebediah jabbed the big red button at T-minus 3 seconds. Explosive bolts tore off the side of the ship while its boosters and mainsail engine engaged, and the 3 Kerbal knots were pressed into the back of their chairs by the building G's as the rocket started climbing up from the planet. "We're away!" Bob shouted, overcome with joy. Bill was still crying, but not with joy. Jebediah watched the altimeter through his drunken haze. They were steadily climbing and building up speed, and now they were a full kilometer away from the surface of the planet. SAS was holding the ship steady, and he glanced at the fuel mixture through the rattling of the cockpit. Percival simply watched the rocket, unable to believe his eyes. "I can't believe those crazy sons of bitches did it," he breathed aloud. "Thaddeus, what's their speed?" "Up to 100 meters per second, sir." "How long until Q?" Thaddeus checked the controls. "Air's a little thick today, sir. I'd say 2 minutes." Percival picked up the radio. 2 minutes to Q, Celestia. I hope to hell you know what that means." The cockpit was filled with the roar of the engines, and they rattled around in their seats from the jostling engines. The gimbals and fins were holding them roughly steady, and they were accelerating away from the surface of the planet at an ever-increasing speed. Bill stopped crying for just long enough to vomit, which sent the other 3 into a self-reinforcing cycle of puking and dry heaving. Fortuitously, the boosters ran out of fuel at around the time they reached Q, providing them with the slight loss in velocity that allowed them to get through the thickest patch of air pressure. Still, the ship held. Jebediah blew the explosive couplings that held the booster to the rest of the ship, and they spiraled downward into the ocean that was now kilometers below. "They did it perfectly, sir," Thaddeus said with a hint of awe. Percival just stared out the window at the rapidly receding rocket, filled with conflicting emotions. He trained for this scenario hundreds of times, and Jebediah relied on muscle memory as much as anything to keep them on a steady trajectory. 7 clicks, Bob said. "Okay, we'll be doing our pitch in 15 seconds, Jebediah announced. They'd reached over 200 meters per second, and Celestia 1 was performing beautifully. When they reached 10,000 meters, Jebediah carefully eased the stick over along the 90-degree axis, giving them the tilt that would allow the Kerbin itself to do some of the lifting work for them. It was a tense moment, or would have been if they weren't so trashed. As it was, the cockpit was filled with a celebratory atmosphere, while the 3 crewmen at KSC were filled with dread. "They rolled, sir," Cornelius announced. "Good trajectory." "Who the hell are these guys?" Percival demanded. Cornelius shook his head, just as confused as anyone else. The best Kerbin has to offer, sir. Stage 1 was almost empty, and Jebediah held his finger over the staging button that would decouple the next stage from the lower fuel tank. Suddenly, the 3 Kerbal were jerked forward as the engine flamed out, causing Jebediah to involuntarily jam his finger into the staging button. The ship rocked with the vibrations of an explosion as the bottom half was blown free and the Stage 2 engines kicked in. Bob puked again, this time managing to get some of the chunky, boozy semi-solid down the front of his own spacesuit. If you really wanted, you could probably get drunk off his vomit alone. I'm gonna hold off on that one. Keep pitching, slowly, over, Thaddeus announced over the radio. The Stage 2 engines roared as Celestia 1 pushed its way through thinner atmosphere. Free of the lower stages, the 7 engines of Stage 2 were rapidly increasing the velocity of the craft relative to the surface of the planet. They were already up to 700 meters per second, around a third of what they need to maintain an orbital trajectory. Jebediah was gleeful, Bill was terrified, and Bob was just drunk. They're still ascending, boss, Thaddeus announced. Good trajectory. What's their altitude? Percival asked. 35 clicks. Incredible, no ordinary Kerbal could have done this. Without waiting for instructions from Mission Control, Jebediah pitched further, slowing the speed of the ascent of Celestia's apoapsis. Still, for the first time since they'd launched, he felt a little uncertain. What's my apoapsis, Control? Over, he asked over the radio. Thaddeus slid over and checked the unmanned board. 46,000 meters. Pitch up a bit. Over. Jebediah obediently brought the ship's bow a little further up along the 90-degree axis. Okay, you're good. What's your Stage 2 fuel situation? Over, Thaddeus asked. Jebediah checked the gauge. It was difficult to read with all the rattling around in the middle atmosphere, combined with his extreme intoxication. Nevertheless, he was feeling happy-go-lucky once again. Almost burned. Stage 3 in 30 seconds. Over. Thaddeus checked his watch, and then the trajectory board. The flight crew had been less than perfectly efficient with their fuel, but they still had enough to attain orbit, and then slow enough to return to the surface of Kerbin. The engineers had done a good job of including a little extra oomph, just in case everything didn't go as planned. You're good. When you hit 60, pitch all the way into prograde, and we'll fix your periapsis in a few minutes. Over. Roger that. They were high enough now that the atmosphere was little concern, and things were beginning to get awfully floaty inside the cockpit. With a groan, Bill realized that the cabin would be full of stray floating puke bits, and he didn't look forward to the zero-G phenomenon. The Stage 2 engines flamed out, and Jebediah quickly engaged Stage 3 before they could lose too much velocity. They were slammed back against their chairs a third time as the final rocket, the one that would take them to and from orbit, burst to life. They got it, sir, Cornelius said. Stage 3 engaged. Bill looked out of the window and immediately regretted it. The planet was now noticeably circular, and it looked like a precious gemstone threaded with gold. They were high enough now to catch sight of the Terminator line and the beginning of dawn. Pitch down, Celestia, Thaddeus instructed. You've got your apoapsis at 76,000, over. Cornelius was excited. Sir, they're at 1,900 meters a second. They're gonna make it. They're going to achieve orbit. As Bill had predicted, stray chunks of puke were now ascending into air due to the low gravity. I don't think that's how that works. And were interfering with their view. It was like trying to look at the control board through a constellation of stars, with each star a little tiny fragment of half-digested corn dog or pretzel. It stank luridly inside the cockpit. Jebediah continued to pitch over, watching the ship's speed continue to pick up under the final orbital burn. More pitch, over, Thaddeus warned. Thaddeus, Cornelius, and Percival all watched with bated breath as the blue line that symbolized Celestia 1's trajectory slowly pulled around the curve of the planet. Only a few more seconds of burning and they had it. They had a periapsis. You've got a periapsis, flight crew. Get ready to cut the engines on my mark. The orbital velocity's periapsis shot up rapidly. From only 4,000 meters, it quickly hit 14,000, then 40,000. When it hit 70,000, Cornelius shouted into the radio, "Cut the engine, Celestia 1. Jebediah casually hit the kill switch, and the ship suddenly stopped accelerating. All 3 were breathing hard and covered with sweat, while flecks of puke floating around the cabin hit them in the face and embedded into their hair. Apoapsis 73,400 meters, Cornelius said with a shaking voice. Periapsis 71,100 meters. You've achieved orbit. I repeat, you have orbit. There was a reverent silence. Good. Percival finally said with a ragged voice. Now get them the fuck home so we can throw them in prison for the rest of their lives. But sir, now that they're up there, shouldn't we at least give them a few go-arounds? Thaddeus objected. Cornelius added, the books might not accept this as an orbital flight if they don't actually orbit. Shit, fine. Take them around twice, then bring them back. Aboard Celestia 1, the crew broke out a few simple scientific experiments that had been provided for the mission. It was tricky work, drunk. Bill did most of it since he was too terrified to look out the window. Jebediah stared as the planet rolled underneath, with an idiot grin plastered across his plastered face. It's beautiful, he said. Majestic, Bob added. Bill said, there's vomit in my test tube. Just like the theory boy said, Bob gushed. Cold as fuck and almost total vacuum. We're giving you 2 orbits, then we're bringing you home, Percival announced over the comm. I hope you like prison food, whoever you are. The flight was a little less majestic with all the vomit hanging around. Back on the ground, Charlesworth finally burst into mission control. What the fucking fuck is going on? He screamed, grabbing Percival by the lapels of his suit. Where the fucking fuck is my spaceship? Wordlessly, Percival pointed to the mission computer. Charlesworth dropped him and stared at the flight already in progress. Well, I'll be goddamned, he mumbled. Who are those guys? We don't know, sir, Thaddeus offered. How the goddamn hell do you not know? Charlesworth's eyes bugged out of his head. Are you telling me that you don't know who showed up in the middle of the night, stole our rocket, and flew it into orbit? Well, you're fired. You're all fired. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to personally light each of you on fire, but for now, I need you to bring these Kerbals home. Celestia 1's orbit held stable for its 2 revolutions around the planet Kerbin. Finally, it was time to bring the rogues home. The mysterious crew was directed to turn its ship around so that it faced retrograde. Then they made a short burn to bring them back into the planet's atmosphere. Jebediah finally admitted they were too drunk for the tricky maneuver of aerobraking, so the ship was slowed on its rocket engine, which still had a generous amount of fuel remaining. They burned themselves down to a reasonable altitude, then detached the capsule, and the 3 floated gently down into the ocean on its parachutes. The Kerbal space program hushed the entire thing up. No one was fired, no one went to prison, and the crew was each given a Kerbin medal for extreme bravery. No amount of cleaning was able to get the smell of puke out of the command module, and the entire thing ended up having to be burned. Only a select few people know that the entire launch was anything but planned. Bill, Bob, and Jebediah went down in history as the first Kerbals to achieve manned orbit. Their faces were plastered across scientific journals, textbooks, and commemorative plates. They went on to fly many more missions, and the entire story went with them to the grave, known to no one. Except, of course, for the conspiracy theorist who guessed at some of the details of the unplanned, but still glorious mission. Author, let me remind you not to drink and drive. It makes for good comedy, but bad citizenship. Thank you. All right, guys. What do we think of that one? There was, that wasn't bad, actually. That was pretty solid. So, good work, Emmykins. Excellent choice. Nothing in there that was too spicy for the internet. Nothing. Not a whole lot of spelling or grammatical mistakes. But we should check this guy out later. We'll see what else he's done. All right, let me double check the music here. All right, it's still going. We're about halfway through. And how are you guys holding up? Is everybody enjoying the fan fiction so far? I do plan to put this up on YouTube, as with all my other streams. But I actually have something special in mind for this particular thing. I would like to, if there are any highlights or whatever, if we come across anything particularly good, I'm gonna chop it up and edit it down into a short best of Kerbal fan fiction video. All right, so we've got 2 more left. They're both longer. We might just read one of them. We might, depending on how short the chapters are, we might get through both. I don't know. So oh, right, this one. Okay. Well, we definitely have to do this one. This was last updated June 13th, 2021. It's from just last summer. And for some reason, this involves somebody's OC, Wolfie Chew. So let's take a look. Oh, this is complete actually. That's cool. So Wolfie Chew receives a letter from a different race of aliens. This race is known as Kerbal Kind. This story will cover the 30 light-year journey of the letter to Earth and the Kerbal's reaction to this girl. They sent this letter to initiate first contact with her. Okay. All right. Okay. Prologue. Let's start with that. Chapter 0. Prologue. Some town near Sydney, Australia, Earth. 31st of August, 2020. 14:10 hours, or 2:10 p.m. A loud noise was heard across the sky. A girl named Wolfie Chew was confused about it. She opened the door and looked at the sky, only to see a small black cloud dispersing. Soon, something landed on her backyard, spooking her and her dog, Mochi. Wolfie Chew then notices a white object in the grass. "What is that?" she asked herself. She walked over to it and noticed that it was an envelope with a letter and some stuff inside. She looked at it and picked it up, being very confused. She went back into her house and Mochi whiffed it. She looked at the sky again and she wondered, who would send a letter like that? Little did Wolfie Chew know, however, that she received a letter from a world 30 light years away from her and Earth. Chapter 1. The News. Kerbal Space Center, KSC Peninsula, Kerbin. 20th July 2020, Kerbal Era Year 10991, Kerbal Launch Year 2021, Kerbal Life Year 3380. That's a lot of years, guys. 9:15 a.m. Jebediah Kerman was supervising the construction of the new Titan antenna communication dish, able to send and receive messages faster than the speed of light. It was complete, it was just in its testing phase. "Alright, all looking good," commented. Soon his siblings came up to him. "Arg. Arr." Bill's a pirate now. "When's this dish going to work?" Bill Kerman whined. "Stop complaining, big brother," Bob Kerman told his older brother. "It's done," Jebediah told Bill. "It's just testing." Oh, we have Valentina. Okay, Valentina voice. "Cool," Valentina Kerman commented before asking, "But what's... Oh, jeez. But what's so unique about this dish?" I can't do a girl voice, guys. Come on. All right, we'll keep working on it. "Well," Jebediah began, "it's got a super comm gun able to accelerate radio waves to 1095 times the speed of light. But it's now in its testing phase, and we're now fixing any issues, so this technically means that it's still under construction, but we could use it now." Soon, a hurrying Kerbal ran up to the Kerman siblings. "Under orders of your father, please come to mission control," he informed, trying to catch his... I don't know why I made him like a royal messenger. "Will do," Jebediah responded. "You heard him, Bill, Bob, and Val. Let's go." At mission control, Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and Valentina entered the mission control building in a sort of hurry. Then they saw their father, Gene Kerman, and his brother, Werner von Kerman, sipping coffee and assessing the situation. Gene soon turned to his children. "Gather round, children," he greeted. "What's this about, Dad?" Hang on. "What's this about, Dad?" Jebediah responded, sitting down at a table. "Well," Gene began, "while testing the Titan antenna dish, we received a strange signal from the all-so-famous planet Earth." "Oh, I should have known, too. I supervised its construction," Jebediah commented. "So what's it all about?" Bob asked. Oh, geez. "The signal was a video by one peculiar Terran denizen, a girl to be exact," Gene continued. "I'm guessing her name is Wolfie Chew. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I don't know." Werner put his left thumb up in confirmation of Gene pronouncing the girl's name correctly. "Well, anyway, it was one video which somehow made its way to the Titan antenna dish network," Gene explained. "Our team at the tracking station have interpreted the signal, and we decoded it." "Here, take a look," Werner simply said. He then grabbed the remote and turned on the screen, showing the video that made it into the Titan antenna dish network. The video was choppy due to the Titan antenna's testing phase, the slow decodation in Kerbin's distance from Earth. Guys, are we gonna watch this? How long is... Hang on.
Hi everyone, this is Wolfie Chew, and I get a lot of comments about my voice. So I thought that maybe today I could make a video about that.
Okay. Thanks, Wolfie Chew. Oh boy. So this is her, Jebediah commented as he watched the video, which was playing to the best of its ability. Indeed, my nephew, Werner replied. She has a higher voice than we expected. What is this? Bill sterned irritatedly. What drugs have the humans taken to create this character design? None whatsoever, Bob told his older brother. That's just a character of this girl. Her voice and persona are kinda cute, Valentina commented. Werner paused the video. Wait, what's so special about her? Jebediah asked. We don't know what's so special about her, Gene told his son. But I assume she's just different, that's all. Is she some sort of savior of Earth? Bob asked. Presumably, Werner replied. But she did catch our interest. We now have plans to send something to her. What is it? Jebediah asked. It will be a... this old man voice. It'll be a drawing of our civilization conveyed in her art style, Gene explained. I now like the girl and I want to make first contact with her. I can't forget what we've also done some research on her. I can't keep all these voices straight, guys. This is like ridiculous. Nerd voice. Okay, back to this girl. Bill stepped in. What else have you decoded and translated? Well, we have this, Werner told Bill, putting this image up on the screen. And also in its printed form. Guys, does anybody know who this is? Is this like a famous YouTuber that I should know about? If you're watching this and you know, please comment. I'm sorry, what? Bill squealed. Werner simply rolled his eyes at Bill's attitude. We also want to send her a letter and the link and QR code of our game so she can play it. Okay, Jebediah responded, taking the printed drawing. So let's get to work, Werner replied as he slammed the wrist of his left hand into the palm of his right hand. Left hand, okay, there you go, little sound effect. Oh, while we compose the letter and other stuff, please fetch Carleos and Coyote Patermian Peterson. They will compose the drawing. We will, Jebediah said, getting up. Come on, guys. The Kerman siblings rushed out of the mission control building, while Werner and Gene began composing the letter. Oh, boy, this is long. I might have to wrap this up at some point. Okay, so let's see. I see. Let's check this one out. We'll go till my voice can't handle it anymore. Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and Valentina ran into the gallery where the two cousins, Carleus and Coyote. That's not a complete sentence, but okay. Carleus was checking his art supplies while Coyote was looking at a weird organism along with his pet Megalopteryx Titan. Carleus, Coyote, Jebediah called. What is it? Carleus asked. Important task for you, Jebediah said. Oh, Coyote went. What is it? This is for Carleus, Jebediah told Coyote before asking, can we borrow him? Coyote thought about it for a bit. Meh, sure thing, he responded. So what's this task all about? Carleus asked. Well, I need you to draw a drawing of a scene that represents our civilization, Jebediah responded. Why? Carleus said. There's one girl that Kerbelkind is just oh, hang on, this is Valentina. There's one girl that Kerbelkind has just discovered, Valentina explained. Her name is Wolfie Chew, and Kerbelkind has now taken a liking to her, and we plan to send it to her. You want me to draw something for a girl on a planet 30 light years away? Carleus questioned. Yes, we do, Jebediah answered. Can you do it, please? Valentina begged. Carleus thought about this for a minute. Who's this girl named Wolfie Chew? He asked. Jebediah simply handed the picture for Carleus to look at. So this is Wolfie Chew, Carleus said. Yes. Yes, Jebediah replied. Sure, I'll draw our civilization for, Carleus agreed. And do so in her art style, Bob added, with Bill being silent the whole time. Okay, sure thing, Carlius said. A few minutes after the Kerman siblings left, Carlius began his drawing. He tried to mimic Wolfie Chew's art style as much as possible. He drew a scene of a Kerbal X rocket launching, along with the scene outside the mission control building with Kerbals lamenting and doing all sorts of stuff, and some sub-scenes and a split-screen effect. He took about 2 days to finish it, in a schedule of eat, sleep, paint the drawing, repeat. He received a lot of assistance from the Kerman siblings. He finished on noon of the second day and decided to photocopy it. He made 2 copies, each of the same size. One would be sent to his gallery, the other would be sent to Wolfie Chew herself. Because of the different physiology of Kerbinian life, Kerbinian paper was different from Terran paper, often being softer and smoother. The drawing that would be sterilized before it came into contact with the Earth or any of its life, as no alien species wants to spread their bacteria as an invasive species on a different world. Emmykins is assuming this is a fan that wrote a story about his favorite game and his favorite Twitch streamer. I wonder if there's any... No, that's stupid. There's obviously no fan fictions with me yet. Maybe in a few years. Oh boy, guys. This is a lot of reading. Okay, let's take a little break here. I'm gonna drink some water. I don't know how people do this for like 6 hours. This is nuts. I guess it's like, you'll write one for me. Thanks, Emmykins. That's great. We can read it when you come on the stream again. So, we've got Kerbals, we've got Wolfie Chew, we had Elon Musk, and I've been told that the final one, if we get to that, which I'm starting to doubt, apparently is like a crossover with Mass Effect and Star Trek and stuff. Here, let's check it out real quick. So, yes, whatever. Okay. So, original characters: Montgomery, Scotty Scott, Gerard the Pretender, Nicholas Locarno, Data, Worf, Femshep, Jean-Luc Picard, Geordie LaForge, Hannah Shepard, Steve Hackett, Adrian Victus, Fedorian. Is that an alien? Oh, Delen from Babylon 5 and Gowron. Wow, where's Vulcan Rider when you need him? All right, so let's read the summary real quick. As a first step to beating Reich forces to the Dargland facility in Universe S4W8, the Aurora crew must lead a dangerous assault on an enemy fleet base. Wait, there's Kerbals in here? Oh, it does say that, yeah. Original work, Star Trek, Mass Effect, Babylon 5, Kerbal Space Program. There you go. Oh boy. Emmykins didn't skim any of it, so she can't say there's no TOS in this one. That's fair. All right, we'll go for 10 more minutes, and then we'll call it for the day. I think I'm Kerbal fan fictioned out. This has been very very different from my normal thing. All right, chapter 3, the rocket. There was a question on how to send the drawing. A conference was set up in the administration building to answer this question. The day of the conference, 21st July. Jean and Werner both sat at their seats in front of the rest, ready to speak. All Kerbal engineers and other staff listened to what the two brothers had to say. The Titan antenna dish is complete yet still inactive, Jean explained. So the most convenient option is for us to build a rocket. We may have to develop a rocket that has to be at least be faster than light. We will also send some physical stuff and other objects to this girl named Wolfie Chew, Werner added. And we packed it all in a large envelope. Why won't you use the Titan antenna dish? Some Kerbal asked, ? As my younger brother already said, the Titan antenna dish is complete yet still inactive. It is only testing, and it would have some mechanical failures we don't know about, Werner answered. We shall build a rocket, another Kerbal asked. Yes, Jean exclaimed, and also us Kerbals like rockets. I have set a due date. All these things must be done, for envelope has to reach Wolfie Chew on September 1st, Werner said. The conference finished with everyone agreeing to Jean and Werner. The rocket began construction on the 22nd of July. It was to be huge, with the transfer cruise stage alone measuring 70 meters long and 25 meters wide and weighing 700 metric tons. The entire rocket was 111 meters tall and 3,000 metric tons, just a meter taller than Saturn V. All week, the Kerbals worked like robots, determined to finish the rocket as fast as possible. But they were happy with their work, grudging no effort or sacrifice, well aware that they were using it to make first contact with Wolfie Chew. Werner, Jean, and the latter's children would supervise the construction of the rocket. The rocket was made with the newest carbon fiber steel, which was stronger and lighter, which kept costs down. The rocker was also significantly more powerful than the Saturn V and the SLS combined. It was like 1,000,000 times stronger than both of them. The rocket presented unexpected difficulties, that it was so tall that it could just barely fit into the vehicle assembly building. It was also fairly top-heavy because of the 600 tons of antimatter its transfer cruise stage carried. But it was circumvented by adding some side boosters, of course, and maximizing the launch stage power. This meant that it was fairly expensive, but it would be worth it in the long run. The rocket would carry several objects in the envelope: a small, well-prepared Kerbinian fruit, a perfume with that fruit, the sheet with the link and QR code of KSP, a miniature science pack, and most importantly, the letter and Carlius's drawing. The work on the rocket took a painstaking 2 weeks, finishing on the 4th of August. All Kerbals involved were exhausted, but their work was rewarded. Soon the rocket was be ready, but was withheld for some finishing touches. Chapter 4. Little discussion, plus meanwhile on Earth. The rocket was done. It was now the question of when it will launch. Gene and his brother walked around the KSC, discussing matters with each other. "It's only a matter of time before we can launch the rocket," Werner told his brother. "Yes," Gene replied. "We've done well, but there's still one task to do. Launch this thing." "Look, brother," Werner said worriedly. "This rocket has gotten expensive. I'm afraid we cannot effectively launch it." "Relax, big brother," Gene reassured his older brother. "We only plan to use this rocket once and then never again." Werner paused for a minute, thinking about it. He then looked at Gene's eyes. "Well, I suppose you're right," he said. "Great!" Gene exclaimed. The two brothers soon walked to mission control, ready to supervise the launch. Meanwhile, on Earth, Wolfie Chew was drawing something on her drawing tablet, with her dog Mochi laying gently on her thighs and sleeping soundly. Soundly. Soon, Wolfie Chew's boyfriend, Jordan Sweeto, came in. I don't know what Jordan Sweeto sounds like, so we're just gonna use my normal voice. "What are you drawing?" he asked in a cheerful tone. "Something completely random," Wolfie Chew simply replied. "Oh no, she's random, chat." Jordan then looked at the monitor with Mochi waking up. "You drew a kitty cat. That's cute," Jordan commented. Wolfie Chew giggled a bit. "But you are my little cat look-alike," Jordan cooed sweetly. He then picked Wolfie Chew up, causing her to laugh. He then kissed her cheek, and she hid her face in embarrassment. Mochi jumped off this moment. Jordan then swayed his girlfriend, who was holding on. "I love you," Jordan mused. "I love you too," Wolfie Chew mused back. Jordan then set Wolfie Chew down. "But there's something I need to tell you, Wolfie," he told her. "What is it?" Wolfie Chew asked. "Well," Jordan began, "Luna told me we may be getting a message someday." From where?" Wolfie Chew went puzzled. "I don't know," Jordan replied. "It's certainly coming from somewhere distant." "Oh, well, we won't be able to know about it till it actually gets there," Wolfie Chew pointed out. "I guess," Jordan agreed. "Until then, we should do our own thing. Agreed?" "Agreed," Wolfie Chew said. Agreed." She then turned off the drawing tablet, saving the drawing of the cat. "Come here, Mochi," she called. They left the room, ready to go with their day. They had no idea that this message would be a letter sent by the Kerbals from a planet 30 light years away. Ooh, so suspenseful. Chapter 5. The Launch. In Emikin's plot twist, Jordan Sweeto is the real name of the author. I mean, it's written by this King Tobias fella, who I guess really loves MapleStory, or whatever game this thing is from. All right, KSC Kerbin, 5th August, 9:35 a.m. The rocket was complete. Gene has planted the picture of Wolfie Chew that he printed as the flag on the rocket. Wait. Gene has planted the picture of Wolfie Chew that he printed as the flag of the rocket. Okay. The door of the VAB was opening, and the massive rocket slid out of the VAB and made its way towards the launch pad. It barely came out. Otherwise, it would have to be assembled outside the VAB. The Kerbals knew that they had to get this envelope to Wolfie Chew by the 1st of September, just as Werner von Kerbin had intended for the deadline to be. The mission would have one difficulty. Kerbin is 30 light years away. From Earth to the Kerbals, the Earth was in the year 1990, 5 years before Wolfie Chew was even born. What? Is this a time travel story now? What's going on? Luckily, the rocket transfer / cruise stage was equipped with a powerful yet efficient hyperdrive engine able to accelerate it to 1,095 times the speed of light, as much as a beam from the Titan antenna dish. The rocket rolled onwards to the launch pad. Okay, hang on. Why did they introduce an antenna that could send faster than light stuff, but then they just made a rocket that could go just as fast as the antenna could send information? What is the purpose? All right, well, we don't need to question these things. It's fanfic. The rocket rolled onwards to the launch pad, taking about an hour to get there. When it did, it rolled onto it gently. Okay. Soon, the crawler transporter vehicle slowly crawled back to the VAB. The fueling process, which literally involved filling all the tanks with fuel, took another hour. When the rocket finished fueling, it was 11:35. In the mission control building, there was mass excitement. They were launching one of the most massive rockets ever constructed by any civilization. Gene sat down on his chairs as other mission control staff sat on theirs. The staff assessed data updates on the rocket's condition. Gene soon grabbed his mic and spoke into it. "All right," he exclaimed. He's a prospector now. "We've got our rocket and we'll use it to bring the envelope to Wolfie Chew. Main fueling is complete. T-minus 5 minutes. He then turned to his nephew, Bobak Kerman. "Bobak, check the diagnostics," he ordered. Bobak checked the rocket's computer on the monitor on his seat. "Everything is looking good, Uncle." I'm assuming it's Werner's son, so we're just gonna use the German voice. "Good," Gene remarked. T-minus 4 minutes 50 seconds, some Kerbal yelled. The Kerman siblings also joined in, but would eventually exit the building to get a better view. The tall service lines were torn off by the rocket, as its engines were gimbaled to make sure they were working correctly. Some crowds came to see the launch from the nearby airport terminal. A minute rolled past. The rocket was standing still, waiting for its engines to roll up. "All right," Gene hollered. "All within the vicinity of the launch must clear out of the area immediately." All the mechanics and engineers had to forget any small details and fixations. Nothing can be allowed to go wrong. Another minute ticked by. Some Kerbals were nervously nibbling on their fingernails, but still there was mass excitement. "T-minus 2 minutes, all have cleared the area," Gene said. "The rocket's doing fine," one Kerbal staff member noted. Gene was confident in his intentions to send a letter to a YouTuber girl 30 light years away from his homeworld of Kerbin. Soon a massive horn was sounded. The fueling connections were severed as the rocket was still standing with its engines ready to fire up at any moment. Bobak looked at his monitor and Gene looked at the main screen. "Uncle, what shall I do?" Bobak asked for orders. "It's almost T-minus 1 minute. Start counting down when I give the signal," Gene told his nephew. Bobak soon turned to his monitor and checked the time. 1 minute. Oh, sorry, it's a computer. 1 minute, a countdown computer called. "Now," Gene ordered. Within an instant, Bobak began counting down. 60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55. A gust of wind slid against the 3,000-ton mass of the rocket as it waited for the moment of liftoff. On the top of the mission control building, Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and Valentina were viewing the scene. "This is it," Jebediah remarked. "Wolfie Chew, here we come." Soon, few Kerbals started counting down with Bobak, only 30 seconds to go. The wildlife of Kerbin moved away from the KSE's vicinity, unready to bear the noise. Some electric sparks came from the rocket's engines, ready to start burning the hydrogen, oxygen, and kerosene. T-minus 20 seconds, all systems active, Gene hollered. Soon, slight rumbling could be heard from the rocket, and soon Bobak raised his voice as everyone in mission control started counting down. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Soon, sparks shot out of the holes in the launch pad and water slowly began pouring in. Ignition sequence start, Gene yelled. Soon, the rocket engines ignite, combusting the fuel. The final countdown words were set. Gene pushed the red launch button. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soon, the bolts holding the rocket down detonate and the clamps let go of it. By now, all connections to the rocket have been severed. The rocket launched at noon exactly. 0, liftoff. We have liftoff of the rocket that will carry our envelope letter to a girl 30 light years away from Kerbin, Gene exclaimed. They're so excited about it. Soon, rocket smoke covered the entire scene as the rocket lifted itself from the launch pad and made its way towards space. There was mass cheering in the mission control building, mass excitement rolling around. Launch pad cleared, some Kerbal shouted. Slowly, the rocket went up, but it quickly picked up speed. There was mass smoke spreading across some of the KSE. It soon went 5 kilometers in the first 20 seconds. Commence gravity turn, Gene ordered. The rocket soon made a gravity turn, going faster and faster. Max Q reached, somebody else noted. At 20 kilometers, the first stage soon burned through all its fuel and was detached along with the side boosters. The rocket was now lighter, still accelerating. At that moment, Gene hollered, Stage 1 engine cutoff! The aerodynamic heating was now at its highest, with the rocket powered on. At 45 kilometers, the second stage was detached. The third and final stage was on propelling the rocket, and it did so efficiently. The rocket was now in the upper atmosphere. The aerodynamic heating had stopped as the rocket reached the altitude of 60 kilometers. Soon, the 2 side engines on the transfer/cruise stage fired up, assisting the third stage in reaching space. The rocket reached space at an altitude of 70 kilometers in about 5 minutes. At that moment, Gene hollered, The rocket's in space! Cliffhanger. You're not supposed to announce that it's a cliffhanger. Rilip's here for the Jeb smut? Oh, I guess you'll have to wait and see. We haven't had any smut yet. We've gone through 2 shorter ones, and we've just started, well, I don't know how far we're in this one. Let's see what chapter we're on. We're in chapter 6. We're about halfway through this one, where for some reason the Kerbals are sending a message to a VTuber on Earth. Oh, there's comments on this one. We gotta read the comments, guys. And Rilip may have gotten COVID. I mean, you live in the same house as somebody who has COVID. There's not a whole lot you can do. Such is life. Never read the comments. Actually, the comments on fan fiction can be a real hoot to check out. Yeah, Emmykins is right. You missed a drunk Jeb. Jeb, Bill, and Bob got drunk and stole a rocket. That was our last story. The first story, for some reason, it was very short. It involved a rocket built by Elon Musk that the Kerbals took to Mars, but it was actually the Mun. It was really weird, and I don't quite understand what the point was. Drunk Jeb is the first step to smut. That one was actually, the one with Drunk Jeb was written in 2013, which was before Valentina. So in the story, it says that Kerbals do not have genders or sexes or whatever. So I don't know if we're going to see any smut from that long ago, maybe. All right, chapter 6, in orbit, plus discussion between Kerman siblings. There was mass shouting and cheering. Many Kerbals began clapping, proud of what they achieved. Gene began crying small tears, also proud of himself. The Rock-T was in space with an apoapsis of 100 kilometers. It was time for the circularization burn. They waited for about 4 minutes to get to the apoapsis. At that moment, the third stage fired up for the second time. Soon, orbit was achieved. The rocket was now in orbit. The third stage was then detached and fired for the last time in a retrograde orbit direction to deorbit itself. The transfer/crew stage was all that remained of the rocket. Werner von Kerman was particularly happy of what just happened. It seemed that his deadline was already beginning to be met. But Gene wasn't too optimistic at first, out of fear that something may inevitably go wrong. But he eventually convinced himself that there was nothing wrong. He was the one who wanted the launch, after all. Soon, Gene felt it was necessary to wait for a bit to consider his options. One question was how to get to Earth. Some proposed they should directly accelerate to Earth. Others proposed to use the gravity assist of planet Jewel. The former was dismissed, as it turned out that the hyperdrive of the transfer crew stage, which will from now on as the spacecraft, required immense speeds to propel the spacecraft to its maximum speed. Gene decided for all the questions to be answered in mission control. Here is his answer. Reading typos without missing a beat is an impressive skill. Yeah, I don't know. I like to, when there's a typo, I like to read it the way that it's typed because you get the full experience. 1:25 p.m. I've decided we shall fly by Jewel, Gene explained. The reason being is that it turned out this type of hyperdrive may require really fast speeds to work effectively. Also, we may have to obtain a gravity assist to go fast enough to get to Earth in Werner's design deadline, which is September 1st on Earth. X. Okay, X. The spacecraft was getting ready. A maneuver node was set up for Jewel at about the same time as the green gas giant rises above the Mun, Kerbin's first moon, hoping to get the gravity assist of both bodies. 1:45 p.m. Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and Valentina were in the astronaut complex, discussing stuff related to the mission. Well, Jebediah remarked, we've launched the rocket, and now we're waiting for the next move. What a waste of stuff, Bill commented. We haven't done much with this freaking thing, we should just quit. It's too late now to abort the mission, Jebediah told his younger brother. All I'm saying is we built a massive rocket just to send a godforsaken letter to a girl that's on a planet 30 light years away from ours, Bill lamented. Oh, Bill, you always whine about nothing, Valentina commented. What was that? Bill yelled. Don't be so whiny and complainy, Valentina jabbered. For God's sake, shut up, Val, Bill shouted before turning to Jebediah. And back to the rocket. I don't believe Kerbal was willing to waste hundreds of thousands of funds to build a big-ass rocket just to deliver an envelope to a girl on Earth. Couldn't we have done that by email? Email's a... Wait, hang on. Email is a strictly Terran communication service, Bill, so alien species have difficulty logging onto it, if it's not downright impossible, Jebediah explained. Also, I mentioned before that the Titan antenna dish is still in its testing phase, so a physical letter was the best option for us. But we could pick the video up, Wolfie Chew up without it? We could pick the video by Wolfie Chew up without it, Bill shrieked, still complaining. Jebediah just facepalmed. Bill, Bob joined in. The thing is that all communication with Earth and other worlds is choppy due to the gargantuan distances between stars, and many interstellar communication technologies like the Titan antenna dish are still in their infancy. So a rocket is now the best logical option to send the letter and the drawing to Wolfie Chew. Also, we pack some other objects in the envelope to indirectly introduce her to our world, such as our apple-like fruit and a perfume with the flavor of that fruit. They are miniature, as the envelope can only carry so much. Fine, Bill eventually agreed, but still didn't sound convinced. But why an envelope and not a package? Is Kerbal apparently stupid? Guys, what are you talking about? A voice came. The Kerman siblings turned to the figure who said that. This just so happened to be their cousin, Kirim Kerman. Have you seen the launch? Jebediah asked. I did, but I was so confused about it, Kirim replied. It's not like we have a very important mission today, right? No, there's no question mark, right? Oh, well, we do, Jebediah exclaimed. You see, there's a Terran girl who's confirmed to live in Australia. Apparently, Bill hollered. A girl from Earth? Kirim went. What about her? Her name is Wolfie Chew, Jebediah told his cousin. And if you're wondering what she looks like, here you go. Jebediah soon showed Kiram a picture of Wolfie-Chew that he photocopied. Oh, so that's her. I gotta be honest, she looks kinda cute. She is cute, Valentina remarked excitedly. Bill rolled his eyes. I'm out of here then, he yelped. But he would still rant about this launch, but as the mission went on, Bill was less and less grumpy about it. Well, here's the thing, Rilip. They're sending the physical letter faster than the speed of light. And if you're wondering why, I don't know. The story hasn't really explained how they managed to get the engine going faster than the speed of light. Chapter 7, Trip to Jool. Hey, I just did one of those. Orbiting Kerbin several times, the spacecraft was getting ready for the burn that would take it to Jool. The mission control staff monitored the timing to make sure the spacecraft fired its engines at the right time. Jool's rise above the Mun was just around the corner, and the Mun's rise above Kerbin was already happening. At mission control, Gene grabbed his mic, ready to give the order to initiate the burn. The mission control staff were checking the spacecraft's computers and ran diagnostic tests. Fortunately, the system detected no failures, but if there was, it was already too late to fix it. Soon, the Mun went completely over Kerbin, and soon, Jool popped into the spacecraft's view. At mission control, Bobak looked at his monitor, using the spacecraft's telescope to pinpoint Jool's location relative to the Mun and Kerbin. And he then looked at the timer to the maneuver node. Jool is visible, Uncle, and the time to the maneuver node is only a few seconds, he noted. What are your orders? It's time, Gene said. Fire the engines and the hyperdrive and initiate the burn. Bobak soon pushed the button. The spacecraft's engine soon ignited with a distinctive light blue fume reminiscent of Wolfie-Chew's hair and eye color, as well as some darker shades around the edge reminiscent of the color of Wolfie-Chew's dress. This dude is obsessed. Oh my god. All right, let's hang on. Urban is here. Hello, Urban. We need more facts. Yeah. Well, listen. I've got one set of words for you. Hold on. Oh no. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, guys. Go back really far. All right. Am I a Kerbal?
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was an...
There you go. We don't have to play the whole thing. All right, back to... Where were we? And yeah, we're using a Kerbal as a VTuber today. Just to... because I don't want the light in my face while I'm trying to read. It'll make it harder. All right. So yes, the engines, the rocket looks like Wolfie-Chew's eye and hair color and her dress. The two side engines fired up too, assisting the main engine in propelling the spacecraft. The spacecraft quickly gained speed, faster than expected. Start activating the hyperdrive, Gene ordered in mission control. The hyperdrive was soon activated, helping the spacecraft moke even faster, but its handicap was already showing. After reaching 3,000 meters per second, the spacecraft struggled to gain speed, but it slowly sped up again. The burn was complete. Oh, got some lightning out here. How exciting. Rilip wants to know, can you remember the tallest man you've ever seen? Do you like to go wander beneath the clear blue skies? Well, because I gave Gene a prospector voice? Come on. The burn was complete. The Mun was on its way to fling the spacecraft in an escape trajectory, but it wasn't too close. This was just one of the mini burns that would get the spacecraft to Jool, and the hyperdrive would get the spacecraft to Jool in only 2 weeks. The spacecraft to the Mun in just 6 hours at a speed of 5555 meters per second. At the periapsis, it initiated its second burn, accelerated to 52,083 meters per second. Once the burn was complete, the spacecraft loosened its contact on the mission control. And then they had to wait 2 weeks for the spacecraft to arrive at Jool. 2 weeks later, the spacecraft was at last at Jool. It was already went past the orbits of Duna and Dres, and soon it was getting close. The mission control tightened contact again. As the spacecraft is close to Joule, Bobak noted. Good, Gene responded. Check the time to Joule periapsis. Bobak went to check his monitor. About 30 Minuten, he said. Make the correction burn, Gene ordered. Wait. Yeah, they're missing a quotation mark. I want the spacecraft to make way directly for Earth. At this point, Werner entered mission control. Are you enjoying yourself, son? He said rather cheerfully. I am, Bobak replied. Great to hear, Werner said, before turning to Gene. How is the spacecraft doing? It already reached Joule, Gene reported. It's the beginning of the 10-day voyage to Earth, and to get the envelope to Wolfie Chew. Good, Werner responded, and then nudged his younger brother a bit. You was the one which wanted the launch after all, were you? He teased a bit. Gene soon chuckled. In all serious though, we still have that mission to take care of, Werner said. The spacecraft soon turned to the prograde direction, its periapsis only a few meters above Joule's atmosphere. Cutting a little close there. Ready to fire its engines. The interplanetary cruise is only one move from commencing. What happens next? Rilip, it's harder than you think. It took me a little bit of time earlier to get all the voices down. I think I'm getting into the swing of it though. So what else we got? Chapter 8, The 10-Day Voyage to Earth, plus Bill's Words. During the 2-week trip to Joule, the mission control staff were working like clockwork, trying to do as much as possible. They monitored the spacecraft and controlled it for the final time. As mentioned before, Kerbin is 30 light years away from Earth, and communication between them is non-existent, as any non-FTL signals would take 30 years to reach Kerbin from Earth, or vice versa. So this meant that the spacecraft would have to think for itself, focused only on the mission. During the flight, just before the spacecraft entered Joule's sphere of influence, the mission control uploaded a set of codes for its computers that would make it independent when it finally arrived on Earth. The spacecraft was now on Joule's periapsis, and as soon as Gene gave the order, it fired its engines in a short yet powerful burst, only 45 seconds long, yet achieving 30,000 meters per second. Holy moly. It continued speeding up as it traveled further from Joule, eventually speeding up to 300,000 meters per second, still using the power from the main engine, so as the hyperdrive is still gaining energy. It left Joule's sphere of influence in about 11 hours, still speeding up. That seems low. Or that seems really slow. I think at 300,000 meters per second, you would be leaving Joule's sphere of influence a little bit faster, but maybe they did the math, I don't know. Soon afterwards, it was far enough away from Kerbal and going fast enough to initiate the hyperdrive. At mission control, Bobak was nibbling on his fingernails as he surveyed the spacecraft for a while. Gene looked at his watch and checked his stellar map and found that the spacecraft was already going to Earth in such a way that it was impossible to not miss the planet. It's time, he muttered under his breath. It's time to begin the Zen cruise to Earth, Bobak hollered before turning to Gene. Uncle, any last words before we say goodbye to the spacecraft? I want to say this on the main dishes of the tracking station, he replied before grabbing his mic. He licked his lips. Good luck, he soon said, and get the envelope to Wolfie Chew. You're now on your own. He soon hid his mic. He waited for 30 minutes. The other Kerbals soon chatted, knowing that this would be the last time they would give commands to the spacecraft, but they would survey it, albeit in a limited way. Soon the spacecraft replied to Gene's message by flashing a blue light. Initiate the burn, Gene ordered. He soon pressed the red burn button. Soon the hyperdrive began charging. Waves began remanating around the spacecraft as its particle shield began appearing around and especially in front of it. The light appeared on the engine where the hyperdrive was located. The light got brighter and brighter until boom! An explosion sound went off as the hyperdrive instantly propelled the spacecraft to 1095C. It left a long streak of light visible from Kerbin as a very thin line of light. The mission control said final goodbyes, and some of there were cheering. The hardest part of the mission was over, but a just as hard part was about to come in 10 days, the entry into Earth's atmosphere. The hyperdrive kept the spacecraft at the same constant speed, and soon everyone left the spacecraft to coast on towards Earth for 10 days. Traveling through infinite space, it passed by many stars across its journey, and it was a peaceful one, with no breakdowns, just as Gene had intended. We gotta get some water here. At the Kerman household. Bill was sitting in his room about all that had happened. He ranted about his concerns that he felt were ignored by everyone. But the uproar alerted his siblings and their mother. They went into Bill's room. Their mother would enter first. "Bill, what's wrong?" She soothed worriedly. Bill turned to his mother and his siblings. "I don't know." He sighed. "Is something bothering you?" she asked. "Well," Bill said. "Is it about space again?" his mother asked, trying to cheer the mood. "Well, Mom, it's best if Jeb explains it," Bill answered. "Mom, we've launched a mission to Earth to get an envelope to a girl," Jebediah explained. "Her name is Wolfie Chew, and Kerbalkind just discovered her about a month ago." "Oh," his mother went. "What is she like? What does she look like? Tell me more." "What does she look like?" Jebediah replied. "Well, she looks like this." He then handed the photocopied Wolfie Chew picture to his mother. "Oh," his mother went. "She looks adorable." "She is adorable, Mom," Valentina added. "And I have so much problems with the mission. We could have sent everything via email," Bill lamented. "No, I already explained this at least once," Jebediah told him. "What? Kerbalkind is stupid, apparently," Bill hollered. "So no, Bill, Kerbalkind is not stupid. We just have a lot to learn," his mother said. Bill facepalmed. "God damn it," he muttered under his breath. "Well, it's too late to change the fate now, isn't it?" I'm mixing up voices. I can never keep Bill and Bob straight. Sorry, guys. "Fine," Bill yelled. "I concede. The mission is going to happen." "It's already happening," Bob told Bill. "Whatever," Bill replied. Bill finally agreed to endorse the mission. He had no other choice anyway. But what is going to happen as the mission comes to its climax? Oh, climax chat. Find out in the next few chapters. All right, let me catch up with chat here. Oh my gosh, Clown Fiasco's here. And it says A+ voice acting. Thank you. Rilip says 1095C would put it at Earth 1 day later. Huh. Interesting. Bill is an astronaut, but still, I mean, all the siblings apparently live with their mom. I don't know what's going on. He was going to endorse the mission that already launched. Yeah, I can't keep the timeline straight. I think there's some time travel going on here. Chapter 9, Arrival on Earth. Oh boy, here we go, guys. The spacecraft was traveling quickly throughout infinite space on its mission to get the envelope to Wolfie Chew. The Kerbals soon found themselves making contact with her, even sooner than the deadline, possibly. After 10 days of traveling through the void of space, the spacecraft finally arrived in the vicinity of Earth's solar system. It traveled through the orbits of the gas giants within minutes, reaching the orbit of Mars within another minute. At this point, the spacecraft slowed down as the energy of the hyperdrive slowly started to dwindle, but the hyperdrive engine could only be used to slow down on the moon, Earth's only moon. There were only 4 days left. Werner von Kerman was even anxious if his deadline could be met. It was August 28th, and the spacecraft was only 1,000,000 kilometers from Earth. Now the spacecraft's computers came up with a plan. The spacecraft would use the moon's gravity to slow down, and using its hyperdrive would slow down to achieve a periapsis of just over 100 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Yeah, it took 11 hours to get out of Joule going 300,000 meters per second, but I guess at 1,095 times the speed of light, it takes 10 days to get 30 light years. No idea. The spacecraft gave itself the order and turned to a retrograde direction. It took another 18 hours to reach Earth. The moon was just within reach and the periapsis was only 5 kilometers from its surface. The Kerbals watched as the spacecraft was about to perform its maneuver, with some weird cameras whose signals somehow traveled faster than 1095C. Okay. The spacecraft was at the moon's periapsis. I guess he at least put a lampshade on it. It counted down the time to the maneuver. Its engine started charging. Werner and Jean soon watched the spacecraft, and soon a weird button appeared near Jean's counter. "What's this?" he questioned. "Why is there a button?" Werner asked. "We thought we could no longer control the spacecraft," Jean said. "Perhaps the power of the Titan antenna dish is much greater than we ever expected," Werner insisted. "Okay, here goes nothing," Jean sighed and anxiously pressed the button. Soon the hyperdrive engine fired up for the burn, and the hyperdrive was activated for the final time. An explosion of sound went off again as the spacecraft quickly lost speed. After reaching periapsis and barely missing a lunar hill, the spacecraft would enter Earth's orbit soon. By now, the hyperdrive's energy was completely depleted, never to be regained. The energy generator was not working anymore. Rilip wants to know how the antenna would create a button. I think you're reading too much into the logic of this fan fiction. The Kerbals cheered at what they had achieved. Many hugged each other and gave each other high fives. Werner, Jean, and Bobak soon looked at the spacecraft as it soon reaches the Earth orbit. 2 hours later, the spacecraft leaves the moon's sphere of influence, ready to go to Earth. "Uncle, what shall we do with the spacecraft?" Bobak asked. "I mean, we're not going to use it anymore." "Well," Jean replied, "the humans can use it." After 2 days of fast orbiting, the spacecraft soon launches its 2 decoupler, sending the envelope on its journey to Earth and Wolfie Choo's house. Wait a minute. We just read chapter 10. No, I guess it was chapter 9. My bad. Okay, chapter 10. Okay. Atmospheric entry into Earth's atmosphere. Yep, that checks out. The spacecraft deployed the envelope on the Earth's night side. The envelope itself was carried in a sort of computer-like package made from the Probodobodyne QBE computer. It was attached to a small descent stage with a small yet powerful engine. It was now August 31st. Over the course of the next few hours from now, the descent stage corrected its orbit. The Kerbals needed it to land exactly in Wolfie Choo's house, preferably in her backyard. A small maneuver node was established on periapsis to slow the payload into a suborbital trajectory. The Kerbals waited for that moment. The engine fired up for a 1-minute burst, lowering the periapsis just enough to touch Earth's stratosphere. After 28 days and 30 light years of travel, the mission is almost over, and the hardest part was only coming. The engine fired up for a 1-minute burst, lowering the periapsis just enough to touch Earth's stratosphere. Oh, we already read that part. The descent stage detached from the payload. The 2 parts both traveled straight on a path to the eastern coast of Australia, with Wolfie Choo's place of residence being a town near Sydney. But there was only a 5% chance of it landing right where they wanted it to. Back on Kerbin in the Mission Control Building, the Kerman siblings rushed in along with their mother, Kirim, Carlius, and Coyote. Jebediah soon looked at his father, Jean. "How's the mission going?" he asked excitedly. "It's almost ending, son," Jean replied to his son. "It's just the entry into Earth's atmosphere and a lucky landing in Wolfie Choo's house." "For something I didn't want in the first place, that was actually impressive," Bill remarked. Bob sighed in relief, seeing Bill change his attitude. "And it was due to my colleague Carlius drawing this image for this girl. He was originally here to paint my vision of Kerbinian life, but I feel he needed to do something else," Coyote added. "I guess," Carlius nodded, "could use a bit of differentiations." Jean nodded at all these answers. "Wolfie Choo, here we come." Back in the Earth's sphere of influence, the payload just began to enter Earth's mesosphere, just above Lake Frome. Packed with the smallest heat shield the Kerbals had to offer, it traverses the thin atmosphere, which gets ever so thicker. Soon, the heat shield started to get hot and red. The aerodynamic heating was getting bigger and hotter as the spacecraft began entering the stratosphere. A visible streak of heat soon appeared, seemingly engulfing the whole payload. The payload was going at supersonic speeds, slowing down rapidly as it made several sonic booms. The settlements south of Sydney were within sight. The spacecraft was now slowing down a lot as it entered the troposphere. The aerodynamic heating began chewing through the heat shield in some parts of the computer package, igniting the fuse for the detonator bolts. Have I considered buying more followers to listen to me narrate other people's fanfic? Could be lucrative. Oh, hang on, we got a bot. Why does the bot have Amazon Prime? Hang on, let me get that. Bot. Be gone, bot. Hold on. Why do they make this so difficult? Oh, that's weird. Did Emmykins already get it? Oh, there it is. Hold on, ban. Okay, we got it. Goodbye. Clown Fiasco, that's true. Clown Fiasco is a cyborg. Clown Fiasco is allowed to watch. He won't get banned, don't worry. All right, hang on, where were we? I got distracted. The settlement south of Sydney were within sight. The spacecraft was now slowing down a lot. Oh, we did that part. A few minutes passed. At mission control on Kerbin, some Kerbals were anxiously awaiting for the payload to survive the entry, but they all knew that the mission was coming to an end. The aerodynamic heating then finally died down as the payload hit 10 kilometers in altitude. It was coming straight down and was already at terminal velocity. It was now, in the luckiest twist of fate, above Wolfie Chew's house. The Kerbals cheered again. Gene hugged his family and rejoiced, and they hugged him back. "We did it!" he yelled excitedly. "Thanks for your courage, Dad," Jebediah thanked. Gene soon let go. The payload has deployed the parachute to slow down, but the computer package was too damaged with some form of smoke still coming out, so the bolts detonated and it exploded. The Kerbals gasped in horror, thinking that the mission has failed, throwing all their efforts out and making them worthless. But soon they saw an object fall out. It was the envelope, and Gene was quick to explain the mechanism behind that. "The computer package," he said, "was designed to explode, releasing the envelope on its journey down. There were bolts to explode computer package and free the envelope. The fuse to the bolts was ignited when the heat shield was destroyed, and it detonated the bolts. In fact, this was meant to happen." The Kerbals listened to Gene's explanation. The envelope soon traveled down and down toward the Earth's surface. On its way to Wolfie Chew's house, it made circles. It continued falling and falling and falling until Bud. The explosion ex machina. Yeah, right. Yeah, I meant for that to happen. That's a pretty Kerbal thing, though. Like, the explosion is a feature, not a bug. Chapter 11, The Letter. This is somebody's favorite. Somebody has favorited this, chat. This chapter leads us back to the prologue. Just hearing the noise of the explosion, Wolfie Chew just came out of her house and into the backyard, or to her backyard, wearing her usual dress. She opened the door and looked at the sky, only to see a small black cloud dispersing. She was confused about it and the noise. Soon the envelope landed on her backyard, spooking her and her dog, Mochi. "What's that?" Wolfie Chew asked herself. She walked over to the envelope, unaware that it was one. She kneeled down, taking the time to look at it. She then picked it up, being very confused. "This object is so soft." It was actually so soft, she said in her mind. She then started walking back to her house. "Come here, Mochi," she then called her dog. She went back into her house and let Mochi whiff to the envelope. She looked at the sky again. "Who would send a letter like that?" she wondered. "Hey, Wolfie," Jordan called. "Have you got this supposed letter?" "I think so," Wolfie Chew replied. I don't know if it's the one." "I think it is," Jordan said. The two soon sat down at a nearby table. Wolfie Chew still took the time to feel the envelope, feeling other objects inside it. It felt sterile, because it was sterile. In fact, it had to be. The Kerbals had to make it sterile, because no alien species wants to risk spreading their bacteria as an invasive species on a different world. Of course, Wolfie Chew doesn't know about the Kerbals yet. "How does the paper feel?" Jordan asked. "This is the softest piece of paper I think I have ever touched," Wolfie Chew replied. "I want to see what's in the envelope," Jordan told his girlfriend. Wolfie Chew found the envelope's flap and tore the envelope open. She then laid it on its side and pulled out everything in it. "Wow, this is more than just a letter," Jordan remarked. Soon Mochi jumped on the table and sniffed all the object in the envelope. Soon Wolfie Chew touched the letter itself. The paper on which it was written was just as soft as the envelope, if not softer. The letter is even softer than the envelope, she commented. What does it say? Jordan asked. Let's have a read and know what it says, Wolfie Chew said. She kneeled closer to Jordan, and both began to read the letter. It read thus. Dear girl named Wolfie Chew, as a race from a planet 30 light years away from Earth called Kerbin, we are writing this letter to just say hello. We are the race known as Kerbals. We've done some research on you, and we now have enough information to contact you. You first appeared on our planet when one of your videos slipped into our network. We have found you interesting, and we like it. We like you. This is a drawing of what our civilization is basically all about, mostly space. We also sent you a link and a QR code to a game about us called Kerbal Space Program. Please check it out. We hope you can say hello to us too. Yours sincerely, Kerbal Kind. Aw, thank you for sending this letter, Wolfie Chew mused. So we just received a letter from a different planet? Jordan gawked. That's so cool. Mochi barked once at the paper. Oh, Mochi, Wolfie Chew cooed. Come here. And then picked Mochi up while Jordan picked up the perfume and the fruit. Despite the time and distance, it was kept fresh by the sterile environment in which it was put. Would you also like a fruit? He asked. Wolfie Chew set Mochi down on the ground and she ran off somewhere. Wolfie Chew then received the fruit. Should I try it? She asked. I guess, Jordan replied. Wolfie Chew looked at the fruit, kind of fascinated. She then licked it for a bit. She felt the taste on her tongue for a bit. She licked her lips and soon she bit down on the fruit. She chewed on it. It felt like a piece of gummy candy, an apple and a strawberry all mashed into one. She went. Chewy. Jordan, you should try it. She then let Jordan have a bite. OMG, it's delicious, he hollered. Wolfie Chew soon put the fruit on a nearby plate and picked up the perfume. She then shaked it and sprayed it on herself. She then sniffed the surrounding air, which was conquered by the perfume's scent. She exhaled, feeling slight pleasure from the scent. I love the smell too, she said. Me too, I guess, Jordan added, feeling the smell too. Soon Wolfie Chew turned her attention to the drawing. It was folded neatly with a two-worded sentence, saying, To Wolfie Chew. She picked it up. What is this? Jordan inquired, intrigued by the large colored piece of paper. Wolfie Chew then unfolded the drawing and blinked. When she glanced at the drawing, she was silent for a second, and then she gasped in pure amazement. She was fascinated by the amazing talent of the Kerbals. Her eyes glowed as a white aura appeared around the blue-haired wolf girl. Jordan also took notice of the drawing. He then glanced at these little green humanoids called Kerbals. So these are the aliens called Kerbals? He asked. This drawing is beautiful, Wolfie Chew whispered, not answering Jordan's question and being focused on the drawing and checking out all its aspects. Jordan soon nudged Wolfie Chew a bit, dissipating the aura. What? She went. So these are Kerbals? Jordan asked again, pointing at the Kerbals in the drawing. Wolfie Chew glanced at them. I don't know, she replied. I might have to verify. Well, you have this, Jordan said, picking up the KSP link and QR code sheet. Wolfie Chew soon received the sheet and set the drawing down. She was confused. She then pulled her phone out and took a shot of it. The KSP link soon popped down into the screen. Wolfie Chew then tapped in and the KSP download website came up. Hey Jordan, what shall I do? She asked her boyfriend. Jordan smiled a bit. Maybe we should find out about the game and afterwards you can stream it and send a reply to the alien known as Kerbals. Oh god. Wolfie Chew soon smiled back at him. Great idea, she replied. She then kissed his cheek. And thus both Jordan and Wolfie Chew began finding out about the game and the Kerbals. They would wait to get the game though for another few days or weeks, but they would eventually reply to the Kerbals. Wolfie Chew would soon stream the game, calmly thought, because she didn't want to start an obsession. Stay tuned for that chapter. Oh boy. Okay. So this guy really wants this VTuber to play KSP, I guess. I don't know what's happening. Chapter 12, Reply and the Game. It was a long time since Wolfie Chew and Sweeto Tunes received a letter from the Kerbals, while the spacecraft that delivered the letter was in an orbit. After what seemed like months of playing other games on her Twitch channel, Wolfie Chew finally decided to play Kerbal Space Program. She got the QR code that came with the letter and downloaded the game on her computer. Jordan, in the meantime, began helping her compose the reply letter. At first, he didn't know what to write, but Wolfie Chew would help him out. Wolfie Chew prepared her streaming equipment. As the stream got going, Jordan got a piece of paper and a pen. Are you sure you want to start now? Jordan asked. This is my first time playing Kerbal Space Program, Wolfie Chew admitted. I don't know how that would go. Wolfie Chew then clicked the button to start the stream. Guys, this is getting really meta. I don't know what's going on here. Jordan started writing the letter, just the dear part. Instantly, the chats began piling up. She stretched on her chair as Jordan petted her hair. Wolfie Chew was making her final checks before turning her mic on. Hey guys, she greeted. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Oh, she's from Australia. I should have given her an Australian accent. Oh no. I bungled this, guys. We're gonna have to start from the top. She greeted her fans with her usual positive attitude. Oi, today I'll be playing a space game for the first time, Wolfie Chew said. The game's called Kerbal Space Program. Wait, hang on. Uh-oh. Music has changed. Let me make sure this is acceptable. No. No, that's not gonna work. Go back one. Start this one over again. Okay. She chuckled a bit after that. Unlike in some other streams, Wolfie wasted little to no time in getting into the game. Let's just hop onto the game, she noted. She then turned on the game. It took about 40 seconds to load up, the game's signature theme song playing. We're not going to play it. Wolfie Chew soon clicked the play button and began playing the game. A while later, Wolfie Chew began designing a rocket. It was pretty basic but weird, probably because she didn't know much about rocket design. While she built her rocket, she was talking to her fans and reading point redeems. After a few minutes, finished the rocket. She clicked the launch button, and after a few seconds, it loaded. So, let's go ahead and launch this thing, you bogan, she muttered. She then pressed space and launched the rocket, but because she didn't know much about rocket design, it quickly tipped over. What? Wolfie Chew expressed. No, stay on course. Wolfie Chew desperately pressed keys to try to control the rocket, but it wasn't enough. No, she cried. The rocket crashed. Wolfie Chew then paused the game. Jordan felt himself laughing at this. Oh, Wolfie, he chuckled. It's fine. Back to the drawing board then, Wolfie Chew said. A donation soon came. Oh, Lil Fish, thank you so much for the $10 donation, Wolfie Chew expressed. I'm gonna throw another shrimp on the barbie. It was a stream like never before, was it? Wolfie Chew had fun designing rockets. Wolfie Chew continued to stream the game for another hour, after which time it was time to write the reply letter. 1 hour later. Wolfie Chew said goodbye to her fans and soon ended the stream. It was fun while it lasted. Wolfie Chew sighed. Jordan soon got the piece of paper and they both started to think about what to write. First off, I just want to say that we received the letter and we want to say hello to Wolfie Chew. Oh, wait. Screw it. Wolfie Chew told her boyfriend. That sounds good, Jordan replied, immediately writing that down. Although, we'll also tell them that we would like to know about them. I think we already found out about them in the drawing, but okay, Wolfie Chew said. She then began to scratch her head, thinking about something while Jordan wrote the letter. Wait, we should just add, we just played the game they told us to play, she told Jordan. You can't forget that, Jordan noted, immediately writing that down. It was like this for a whole minute until they finished writing the letter. They then sent the message on Gmail to the Kerbalkind's contact number. The humans have also built a Titan antenna dish, so this meant that the message was transmitted from the dish. How will the Kerbals react? Why is she writing a letter? Why is she writing a letter and then just sending it via Gmail? You don't need a piece of paper for that. This whole thing is just it's all wrong. Everything's wrong. There's too many plot holes. All right, 10 days after Wolfie Chew and Jordan Sweeto sent their reply. Also, Emmykins did some digging. If you guys are not aware, Wolfie Chew is a VTuber, and I guess Jordan Sweeto is her real-life boyfriend or something. So this is like IRL fan fiction, but also with Kerbals. This is your wife won't go to the movies because you point out all the plot holes. Yeah, that makes sense. The Titan antenna dish was now 200% complete and ready for action, and its first task was to receive the reply message. The Kerman siblings were chilling in nearby park. Bill walked around as he ate a Kerbal chocolate bar. It's now months since we sent our letter to Wolfie Chew, he lamented, and she still hasn't replied? What do you expect? Jebediah asked. Bill went, struggling to find words. Wolfie Chew's still doing her thing over at Earth, so she may not have a chance of replying to us, Jebediah explained. Plus, I just heard that Wolfie Chew saved the world from a monster in another realm, Valentina added. Why am I even concerned about Wolfie Chew at this point? Bill grumbled to himself as he took a bite of his bar. I don't know, Bill, said Bob. Maybe you were convinced of our actions. BS, Bill yelled. Don't deny it, Bob teased. Bill grew embarrassed for some reason. Meanwhile, Jean and Werner walked around the park. It was almost 9 months since we sent the letter, Jean commented. Now that we have the Titan antenna dish fully operational, it's only a matter of time before she replies, Werner replied. The two brothers soon noticed the Kerman siblings and sat down. Hey, Dad. Hey, son, Jean greeted back. How's your day going? So far, so good, Jebediah said. I don't know. What about me? Bill said. I feel like I'm interested in Wolfie Chew's reply now. Calm down, Bill. She'll reply soon, Jean replied. Soon, Jean's phone began buzzing for a short period. Jean took it out and read the message. He instantly got up. Wait, Dad, what's going on? Bob confusedly asked. I got a message and it said we have to report to the tracking and communication station, especially the Titan antenna dish. The 6 Kerbals then hurried to the tracking station, now designated as the tracking and communication station. When they got here, they sat down at a nearby table. Bobak soon ran up to them with a printed copy of the reply mission. Bobak, what do you have for us? Jean asked. Here, Bobak said. I have printed a copy of the reply message. Did Wolfie Chew finally reply? Bill asked inquisitively. Bobak laid the message in front of Jean. Jean picked the paper up and began to read the message. His brother and children gathered behind him and began to read the message for themselves. The message read thus. Dear Kerbals, me and my boyfriend have received your letter and want to say hello. A bit about me. My name is Wolfie Chew and I'm a storytime animator and Twitch streamer. I also want to say that I just played the game and streamed it, and it's great. We'd also like to know a bit about you, and as I think you're an interesting race. Regards, Wolfie Chew. The 6 Kerbals were astonished at the response. She has a boyfriend? Bob asked. I thought she was single, Bill expressed. Jean and Werner looked at each other. Well, we already told her who we are in the drawing, Jean said. So why not tell her more about ourselves? Werner told his youngest brother. Okay, Jean replied. And so it began. An exchange of messages from Kerbals to Wolfie Chew was initiated just like that. This would continue until Wolfie Chew's mission to space in 2023. Ooh, Urban just checked her channel, and it's a time, huh? Well, well, well. I'm morally obligated to set up a raid as she's streaming right now. Hang on. I mean, if I thought I could get away with it, I guess I could. Wolfie Chew. Is it Wolfie Chew live? She's not live right now. There's 180,000 followers. Oh no. What is this? Hold on, I don't want to start blasting you guys. Yep, definitely a VTuber. Okay. All right, I just looked at it. So I can't rate her because she's not live. And even if I did, nobody would notice because she'd have like 5,000 viewers. Her voice. Oh, we heard her voice. There was a video at the beginning of this story. It's like, hi guys, I'm Wolfie Chew and I talk like this because I'm an anime girl. It's like, you know. Okay, guys. This is it. This is the final story of the night. We probably won't actually be able to finish it, but I at least want to get through the first chapter here, because it's 17 episodes long, and you'll notice it includes everybody's favorite things. We have Star Trek, Mass Effect, Babylon 5, and Kerbal Space Program, including the characters Montgomery Scotty Scott, Gerard the Pretender, Nicholas Locarno, Data, Worf, Femshep, Jean-Luc Picard, Geordie LaForge, Hannah Shepard, Stephen Hackett, Adrian Victus, Fedorian, Delin, and Gowron. So there you go. Oh no, this is really long, guys. Oh no. Okay, let's just get through the first part. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. It'll destroy me. Rilip listened to her voice, and I'm pretty sure it's just Star Shard. You know what? You've never seen us in the stream at the same time, so if I was gonna be a VTuber, I absolutely probably would go with something a little different. But I know anime girls are all the rage these days. All right, here we go. Teaser. 4th of October, 2641, D-minus 10 days. Robert and Angel woke up to the sound of the alarm chime they had set with the computer. Just as on any other morning, mornings that would have seen them make pleasant morning talk before going off to shower and to breakfast to start their day. But this wasn't any other morning. They got ready with urgency, shower, a quick breakfast without a word, and then into their uniforms before departing Robert's quarters. As they moved down the deck, Julia joined them. Her hair was brushed and pulled back into a proper ponytail, and her uniform was without a single crease. Her green eyes burned with the same intensity their own eyes had. Gerard joined them next. Kat arrived alongside Leo, and then Meridina came up with Lucy. Scotty nodded in greetings as he moved into place with them. They met Data, Worf, and Shepard coming up the transporter station. Worf, as well as Data, were in their standard Starfleet uniforms. Shepard was in the blue uniform of the Systems Alliance Navy, complete with the striped shoulder boards. The doors slid open. Locarno was there and nodded. Commander King, not to be outdone, was already present with her crew. So, Robert looked at them all. This is it? This is it, Julia agreed. Let's go then. Robert nodded to the Egyptian man at the transporter station. Are they ready? We just received the clear signal from command, sir. You're cleared for transport straight to Defense Command. Robert didn't bother thinking about what had happened the last time they were in Defense Command. That was the past. This was the future. Their future. And stopping a terrible threat looming over everything they cared for. Then let's go. Okay. So, that's pretty intense. What are you guys talking about? Hang on. Emmykins was trying to decide if it was written by her with a different alias or a fan. It's definitely got to be a fan. Oh boy. So let's skim through this. Well, I didn't see any Kerbal stuff. Defense Command. Oh no. Yeah, this is like sci-fi stone soup. It's just got everything. Where are the Kerbals? There are no Kerbals. There's no Jeb. Are there any Emmykins? Are there no Kerbals in this? This is just Star Trek fan fiction. Oh, there's more chapters. Hang on. Oh no, there's so many chapters. Okay, they're not in chapter 1 or chapter 2. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy when chat is popping as long as, you know, you guys are behaving yourself. I'm just searching Kerbals through this whole thing. It's just at the top. Got to go through 17 chapters to get to Kerbals. Oh, here we go. There were other ships. Itagaki Union, Arkanar Federation, Gitoran Star Sailors, and Kerbal spacecraft carriers. Every nation and species that the Aurora had visited in the past 2 months was representing in the arriving fleet. And they had all come to end the threat of the Nazi Reich. What the heck is going on in this story? Chat. What What? I don't... Okay, hang on. There's more. As they tore their way through a Nazi cruiser squadron, attack bombers from the Kerbal fleet raced in at breakneck accelerations. Showing an almost suicidal disdain for enemy counterfire, the Kerbals deployed their gravitic bombs against the cruisers. With the Glamuli orbs having drained away their shields, their armored hulls were left to endure the powerful Kerbal weapons and their hull-shattering gravitic warheads. What the heck? Why is this? Who thought that this would make an interesting fan fiction? Or not even fan, just like an interesting story at all. Like, why are you bringing Kerbals in here with gravitic bombs? That's not canon. Enemy Z-2500s raced in to engage the Allied carriers. Kerbal and System Alliance fighters moved to engage, and they were not alone. The starship Atlantis moved into position and engaged with her own light batteries. While the Atlantists covered the carriers, the Discovery and the Gagarin joined the sleek Fedstar cruisers in battering a burning Lutzow-class ship into ruin. Oh boy. Purple bombs are just landing gear. The spring set to 0.05. Wait. Oh, that's right. Emmykin's found some, like, real gnarly stuff. I just want to read the Kerbal parts. The Reich fighters were currently pursuing the Kerbal bombers that were producing one of the Dreadnought divisions for the benefit of Allied Dreadnoughts and couldn't break off safely. Lawrence shifted his fighter left and right, then corkscrewed it to avoid incoming fire. I'll try spinning, that's a good trick. He waited the few seconds, or the key seconds, before his targeting system flashed a lock and fired. Thick pulses of amber energy lashed out from the Mongoose's chin and the base of the small payload and engine wings. The first shots were still slightly off. Laurent carefully maneuvered his fighter until the stream of pulses started tearing into the rear of the Nazi fighter. The enemy fighter shields held for the first half second. The pilot was already maneuvering to get out of the Lawrence firing line. Okay. All right, this is way too much. Yeah, so the full story is I had Emmykins spend the entire day scouring various fan fiction websites for Kerbal Space Program fan fiction, and she did a very good job. The Wolfie Chew one was choice. And this one with the Nazis is weird, and probably I wouldn't want to read the whole thing because it looks exceptionally long. Like, it's 17 chapters of this long of pages. But I think hearing about Kerbal fighters blowing up Nazis is gonna last us a while. We'll get some real mileage out of that one. And with that though, I think that's about all I can handle for the day. So send your oh wait, you saw Jeb? Hang on. Let's see what Jeb's up to. Lieutenant Jebediah Kerman's Mongoose slipped by Lawrence Own and went directly at the Nazi fighter attacking him. Phasers blazed and the enemy pilot broke off, but not before taking damage. Well, there you go. Lieutenant Jebediah Kerman. So thank you everybody who showed up for this. This is gonna be up on YouTube, as it always is, as the full unaltered stream. But I would also like to maybe trim it down to the best bits if I can find them. Oh, right. Yeah, Emmykins is mentioning the Law and Order SVU fanfiction that she found. So we're gonna wrap this up for the night. Keep things rolling. Kerbals 1, Nazi 0. That's right. And we will see who's around. We can actually go raid possibly an alien. I don't know how much longer she's going to be going, though. She usually wraps up around now. So our options are Ice King of Space or Matt Comart. Do you guys have a preference? It's just the four of us here. We'll do Ice King. Imagine inflicting this psychic damage on your audience and then making Alien deal with the fallout. You guys, come on, you guys. It wasn't that bad. Anyway, so thanks for coming to the 169 followers celebration.
69, dude!
friends.
we're gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I will start the raid when I remember to do that. Let's go over to Ice King, see what he's up to. He'll play some music for us. So I will see you guys tomorrow. It is Surviving Mars, and it's gonna be a good time. I have an idea for a campaign we can do. All right, good night.